between a print and a pattern. Here's a corset that I bought from Timeless Trends before I even started making corsets. And you can see here the print on it. This actually doesn't have a print, it's actually woven right into the fabric, but you could say that it has a green and gold brocade print. The actual pattern of it is based off of a traditional Victorian style hourglass corset. So in sewing, when we're talking about patterns, it means that you have little guides, little pieces of paper that you trace, and you cut those pieces out from fabric and you sew them together. So that's what a pattern is. So there's no shame in actually using an already existing pattern. What might happen is if you are not of a regular body shape, then it's not going to be very comfortable, but using those measurements you just took, when you actually go to make your mock-up, then you can make the little adjustments to have your corset fit just for you. So the very first corset I made, I actually used this pattern here. It's the Simplicity pattern, number 9769. So when you go to any Fabric Land or anything like that, some Walmarts even sell these patterns. You can just ask for this and they'll be able to find it for you. Other examples of already made corsets that are, traditional hourglass shapes and are good for moderate lacing are Simplicity 2890, 5726, 7215. Laughing Moon patterns are absolutely awesome. I have seen some very, very nice corsets come out of those patterns. So try patterns 100 and 113 for Laughing Moon. And also there's McCall's 3609. Now there are other ones, but those are the ones that I've found were more accurate historically, and they're good for moderate lacing. So if you still want to draft your own pattern from your own measurements, then you can do that as well. Am I going to teach you exactly how to draft your pattern step by step? No, that would actually take me hours, but I will put some links in the description below, some different websites that teach you how to draft your pattern from your own measurements. And once again, I have to recommend Foundations Revealed. It is so clear, and the shape that you come out with is actually very, very nice. It's so comfortable. So when you go to draft your pattern, you're just going to be using, pencils on paper. Use a big piece of Bristol board or butcher paper. What I like to do is I actually use the underside of old Christmas wrapping paper, and I use that because that paper is large enough for me to work with. The area of paper that you need is the widest part of your horizontal measurements, so whether that's your bust area or your hip area, whatever is the widest, and also the longest part of your corset from the top edge to the bottom edge. So a couple of tips and tricks that I have found when I'm actually drafting my corsets. I am very particular when I'm drawing curves. So I actually invested in something like this. It's called a French curve, and it has measurements along here which are curved, and it also has straight measurements here. So when I want my pieces to be perfectly symmetrical, or when I want a really smooth line and I can't really do that by drawing freehand, I'll use this instead. So this cost me $10, but I'm pretty sure you can find it cheaper in different places. I also invested in this mat here. What it is, it's a self-healing mat, so I can use it with my rotary cutters. I'll explain in a future video what rotary cutters are, but it also has grids down here, so you can measure in inches. The finer measurements are 1/8 of an inch, and you can also measure in centimeters here. So this I find very, very useful. It also has angles cut on 45 degrees, 30 degrees, and 60 degrees. So I think I've sufficiently prepared you guys to be able to use those drafting tutorials on those websites that I recommended. So just go draft your pattern and then come back to this tutorial so I can teach you the next steps. Alright guys, welcome back. So once you're finished drafting your pattern, you should have something that looks sort of like this. So you can see I have all the panels of the pattern drafted out, and I'm not going to cut this out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make duplicates. So this here was made using the Foundations Reveal tutorial. This one was using a different tutorial. So actually this one, you can have the option of making it 5 or 6 panels. This one's only 4 panels. Since I'm fairly regular shaped, both corsets have worked fine for my figure, but you may find that one or the other is more comfortable for you. So when I'm talking about making duplicates, what I mean is I had not cut out this paper here, but I had traced it instead and made these workable pieces, pattern pieces. So what I do for that is I take something slightly transparent like this wrapping paper here, and wrapping tissue, and I'll lay it over like this, pin it down so that it doesn't shift around, and then I'll take my pencil and I'll start tracing around the pattern pieces here. You can't see anything on this camera, but you're just going to have to trust me. Then what I'll do is I'll cut out the pattern pieces that I had on here, and I'll flatline or glue or whatever those pieces to something a little bit more sturdy. So in this example here, I actually ironed it to fusible interfacing, so that it is more like a cloth than a paper now. What I also did, if you can see, I numbered each of my pattern pieces and I pointed which way was up so that I don't get confused, because a lot of these pattern pieces look very much the same. There we go. So that's that. Oh, another thing that I did was I added the waistline to every single one of these, so that when I go back to sew those panel pieces together, when I have cut them out from cloth, then I know where the anchor point is. But I'll be able to pin it at the top, the middle, and the bottom points, so that I know how the pattern pieces are supposed to fit together, and I won't get any shifting of the pattern pieces when I sew them. For this example, what I did was I didn't use fusible interfacing. I just, cut them out of cardboard from an old pizza box, and I glued them like that. And you know what? It works pretty much the same way. The one basic thing that you need to remember about these is you need to be very, very precise when cutting out these pattern pieces, because this pattern is actually going to give you 8 pieces when you go to cut it out in the cloth. If you veer off by 1/8 of an inch on each pattern piece, that means your corset is going to be a full inch larger or a full inch smaller than you originally intended. So you have to be very, very careful and precise when you're actually making your pattern pieces, and also later on when you're cutting out these pieces for sewing them together. So I think that's it for this video, guys. I hope you found this informative. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.